Hey, what's up, my interweb friends? Happy Friday. It is Friday, July 31st, and you are live in the back alley of TSI University, also known as Shally's Alley. And today's guest may or may not be, can you be really sure? I mean, that's kind of the subject today, right? None other than Zach Cilman, who is a transplant from a different industry and has been really crushing the whole conversation around a problem that most TA teams still think is a bit of an edge case. He's the person behind the resume may not necessarily be the person behind the interview. In other words, you might be interviewing somebody other than the person whose resume you actually got, or the person who logs in on day one at work might not be the same person you interviewed, and all kinds of other craziness. Zach leads workforce identity and fraud. First of all, it's crazy that this is actually a job for somebody, but let's just say if this was a job for somebody, Zach is the one doing that job at a company called Socure. Did I say that right? Socure?
That's correct, Shally.
Socure. Socure. And you have been putting real numbers on a threat that recruiters are having a hard time solving, especially with just keyword searching or assessments, right? So, right. Zach, you are in the alley. Let's go.
Oh, it feels good to be in the alley, Shally, because I'm actually based in Los Angeles. And so when I was walking this morning through my own alley, having a coffee and being excited to go to the next one. So it's great to be here. Yeah, what can I tell you, Shally? I think
I have tons of questions, so many. I mean, I want to talk about the taxonomy of this whole bizarre thing. I want to talk about the percentage of applications that are fraud. I want to talk about workforce fraud, candidate fraud.
Yeah.
How to defeat that, to find the right candidate that isn't a freaking fake candidate. Sure. What happens when you don't know if the candidate is even real?
Yeah.
And other questions that didn't even exist a few years ago. We've had fraud. Fraud's always been around. Fraud is, the oldest swindle in the book. There's been con artists and scammers all the way back to sellswords and purse stealers, since we had purses, I guess. I don't even know. But this is a whole nother dimension of, like, I don't know, the overpowered AI world combining with the overabundance of just information. And it's hard to, when you have so much access, it's actually hard to filter everything, right? So one thing is I can't find it. And if you find it, you can trust it. But another is I can't find it because I found everything. How do I boil that down, right? So how do you protect your organization? So that, let's start with that. Let's start with, how about we go into give us the taxonomy. We've got fake and stolen identities. We got proxy interviews. We got deep fakes. We got identity rental. We got ghost employees. Explain.
Yeah. So I think that's the introduction was broad because the problem was broad.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one, you pointed out a key distinction at the beginning. And I just want to be clear of kind of like where we're really good versus kind of some of the other problems. So there's one problem, which is just essentially fake identities, and there's synthetic identities, there's people renting identities, there's coordinated attacks where there's people swapping out different identities through a process or at different points, like from day zero to offboarding. And I would say that's Socure's main bread and butter lane. Like, that's what I focus on. There's a whole other issue of fake credentials, new problems around how much AI do we want, a candidate to use in an interview process, right? Hey, you're going through an assessment. Do we want you on Claude or not? Or how much Claude, right? Like, I don't know the answer to that question, but I find that these issues are blended, but I want to be clear, like what my team focuses on and kind of where we're super good is just, is this Shally, right? Mm-hmm. Is Shally a real person? And is Shally like a known fraudulent person? Meaning,
right.
It's the
right. Not
combination.
whether or not Shally's degree is actually from this
Correct.
school. That's always been around.
Correct.
So right. I
So
gotcha.
that problem.
So this is like fake identities, synthetic identities, people
stolen
pretending to be somebody
identities,
else.
misrepresented identities,
Yep.
Frankenstein identities. I mean, there's a whole litany of things kind of happening. And so our business, I'm newer to the company, but SoCure's core business for the past 13 years has been answering those questions in a variety of contexts throughout the internet. Now, 13 years ago, what mattered when we started the company was primarily happening in like banking and finance, right? You go to start a credit card online. Like, how do we know it's really Shally? Obviously, maybe you have good credit. That's a separate question, but like, is this really you? And banks and other financial institutions, like everything was moving online. And so that was something that consumers wanted. It's something that the companies wanted to provide to consumers. And so they needed a way to do this at scale without, scammers getting access to credit under your name. And so basically, what we've built is what we call an identity graph. But imagine we're a data science company. We have 30 billion rows of data that can essentially correlate. Like, we know Shally, we know Shally's addresses, we know Shally's emails, we know Shally's phones, we know Shally's IP. We see it through 3,500 plus enterprise grade customers we have across industries, so that we can give a high level of assurance with like a limited level of data as to, okay, like this is Shally. Shally's on his computer. Shally's applying from his email. This address corresponds to Shally, or like this is a new email address that maybe Shally's using for this job search, but it's coming from the same place and it's on
right. It's a second ID, a second email ID, but it's the real hit. Right.
Correct. So what we try to do is just correlate known elements that we've seen over the last 13 years to just answer that core question of, is this Shally or not? Now, in the hiring context, there's some really insane things happening. And it's kind of why I ended up in this position, just because, I've had a relationship with this company for a long time and we were talking about this, and it feels so dystopian. Obviously, there's a lot of societal change happening right now, but
right. And I don't think we have enough time in this show to address that.
Yeah, but fair enough.
What did you see in the market that made you join this company, and that made, well, I guess two parts to the same question, that made workforce fraud a hair on fire situation?
Yeah.
Rather than just another security vendor, right? I mean, because let's just face it, there's a lot of that because we need a lot of it, and that's fine, it's business. But like, there's this hair on fire thing, and then there's what did that, and what made you like leave your other industry to come over here?
Yeah, I mean, the problem was fascinating to me, like, not to jump all the way in the dystopian piece of it, but when you combine remote work, AI, and like basically just think that fraudsters have their own version of ChatGPT, like a fraud GPT.
GPT.
Yeah. So,
oh my God, is that what it's called? I'm Googling that right now. Hold on a second.
Yeah. I'm not on the marketing department for them, but like, you know what I mean? It's like they have you in order to create fraud on the internet before, you needed like a group of hackers we can all envision.
Dude, stop. I've seen this. Like I've been 30 years. I've been doing this.
Yeah.
I've seen the like progression of this, the evolution of this thing, but it recently, and I blame COVID for this, actually. Hear me out. I blame COVID for this.
I'll blame COVID for everything.
You're right. Yeah. It's easy. It's a good scapegoat. Yeah. But seriously though, let me start over. I've been working remotely for most of my career. Mm-hmm. I was a remote employee in 1999.
Wow.
Okay. And I've been tracking the population of remote workforce people. Back in the day, it was in the hundreds of thousands when I started as a full-time remote worker, not part-time remote, not hybrid, but, does Shally even have a badge? Right? And it was in the hundreds of thousands, and it was in the 9 millions, and it was in the 20 millions, and then COVID. And then the chart just hockey pucked. So COVID made it possible, in a way, for mass scale remote work for organizations that had previously not really considered it. it was always an option, and it became a fairly easy option, but employers just hadn't invested in the infrastructure necessary to have that option. And so during COVID, there was a big shift, which enabled it. So now all of a sudden, a lot more people are working from home, and this opened the floodgates. So it hockey pucked, and we introduced all these new, I don't even know how to call it. Like, I'm just gonna, you tell me. Let's do word association.
Sure.
I'm gonna say 2 words. You tell me what you know. Famous Cilman.
Famous Cilman, yeah, that's the North Korean hacker group that
Right.
I spend a lot of time trying to help companies avoid being victims of.
Guess when they started?
I don't know. I'm open for the history lesson. Probably 2020,
2019.
2019. Okay.
Well, I mean,
They
for
were
all I
fun
know,
scary.
for all I know, they might have been active since 2018. There was a group called Bad Clone in 2018, but I mean, the Cilman movement started in the 1950s. The Bad Clone, cyber group might have joined them in 2018, but right around 2019, you started to see names like Famous Cilman being dropped. Tenacious Pungsan, Void Galbi, Purple Bravo, Purple Delta, Ong 5342, all these groups, they all just sort of joined together, right? So that's right around that, maybe it was before COVID, but the timing is just too close.
Yeah, I mean, they had the benefit of great timing, and just to kind of round that
right.
out, these are the coordinated attackers that decided hacking's been around, but what if instead of going through all these backdoor ways into getting into companies,
right through the front door,
right through the front door?
Yeah, we'll put on a purple mustache,
exactly,
and walk right in the front door with a badge.
Just throw one of these on, and you're good to go, Shally, and you're just right in there. No, but seriously, I mean, that level of impersonation.
I can't believe you had that handy. Were you planning on that?
Yeah, I always have that handy. It's
you do. All right. Well, then my response to that is this.
But yeah, I mean, the idea being, because
what changed?
The cost to compute is all that's it costs, right? So you used to have to go in and actually code, do real hacking. Imagine how much effort you would have to put in to send thousands, millions of resumes at a time. Now it's just a couple prompts in the Fraud GPT, and organizations are getting crushed. And I haven't talked to a single person in talent that isn't at least seeing at the front end just a deluge, like a massive amount of resumes, have been on interviews with people that they're not sure if it's the person that they say they are, or wonky things are happening. Has it gotten all the way to the point where there's an actual breach on the other end? Not every company's experiencing this, but
dude, check this out. So maybe you can use this as a way to illustrate, but this happened very recently. Okay. I'm on a call with one of my teammates, and they're sharing a resume, and because I'm like, hey, I saw this resume, might be a good fit. And they're looking at the resume and they're sharing it on the screen, showing me, this and this. And then they're like, well, but we have another candidate that has a similar skill. And they went to the ATS and they pulled up another resume. And I thought I had a deja vu moment where I'm like, did my screen freeze? Are you sharing your screen still? The other resume, just serendipitously, that they pulled up looked identical to the one that we were looking at. The only thing that had and I was like, did you change? Is that a different resume? And she's like, hold on a second, let me check. And then went back to the other one, and then back and forth and back and forth. Like, what is going on here? They were 85% identical. Yeah. The name and email address was different. The LinkedIn address of the person was different. The name of the first employer on the resume was different, but everything else was the same. And we both were like, what? And then I was like, hey, I'm a genius. Let me go Google this person. And that person with that name showed up online in a real LinkedIn profile. That person with that name in that LinkedIn profile did not have the skills on that resume.
That's extremely common, Shally. So if we zoom out, I'll take you through how these attacks work, right?
Yeah.
So
okay, please.
There's these groups, and what they're trying to do is to erroneously get jobs at companies to get access to credentialed equipment.
They're legitimately trying to get hired.
Correct. They're trying to get hired for either, in some instances, there's just really smart engineers that happen to work in North Korea that don't have a way to get a job and they're just trying to make money. In other instances, they're trying to get access to the systems. They're trying to go in
or organize
files. They're trying to, exactly. There's blackmailing happening. They're just stealing money. There's espionage happening.
Stolen identity.
Yes. But like getting in with an identity, right? Getting into an actual job so that you have that computer from that company. And then as you're a hacker at that point, there's plenty of damage that you can do. Right. And so that resume similarity you're seeing is a symptom of the idea that, like, look, at the end of the day, they're trying to get an interview. So they're going to throw as many resumes towards this thing as possible. And there's like a group of people doing this. And so many people that we've talked to, they'll see person A show up for interview 1, person B for interview 2, person C for interview 3. But the idea is these people need to be able to speak to these experiences. And so one of the things that we measure and that we help companies measure is resume drift and resume velocity, right? So like, how likely is it that 30 engineers from OpenAI just applied to your company in the last 2 hours?
Like, so you're doing broad corpus analysis where on the ATS side?
Down the so we're integrated in the ATS, and we basically broken down the resume into data elements that we can then start drawing correlations on, right? Like, for most companies, it's not very likely.
Like what I did with my eyes, your machine is doing electronically. So I'm like, these two look really similar. Your machine is like, these are definitely similar.
Well,
correct. That's not just your eyes.
Exactly. And when you think about the volume, are you really going to remember the one resume? Like,
no, but when there's 27, the machine knows.
Correct. Or when there's 1,000 and you just want to know instantly with Signal, we can provide that. So one of the things we're measuring is drift, because we're seeing that very commonly, that like, how likely is it that these 6 people all basically had the exact. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, that these people are all bad, but it's just a signal that you should be aware of. Right. And with the volume, one thing we've also seen across the board, and this might not all be related to fraud, but just the amount of resumes that are coming through the door now is astronomical for most jobs, especially like tech jobs, engineering jobs, where a lot of this fraud is happening, remote jobs, right? So we're just trying to help teams get smarter on Signal so that instead of you and a friend sitting there having to do this manually, can we automate this?
But hold on a second. No, I get that. I don't want to derail this into a sales pitch, because it isn't. I need actionable shiznit here. So I can't afford. Actually, I can. My company can. My organization can't afford. But there's another reason why I can't. I am not able to connect my ATS to your system. Not going to happen. There's information in the resumes that you can't see. Okay. So I'm not gonna be able to do that. But if I look at a resume and I'm doing this, old school, give me 2 or 3 things that I should be looking at that are flags. Not that I'm just gonna be all of a sudden like I'm the detective of fraud, right? But like, for example, here's my thought. If I see a Gmail account and it's like a numerical account, it's like Shally 57 or Patricia 5738421, I'm starting to think this is probably because a real person would not have Patricia 547289. They probably would have, Shally Stackroll or Stackroll Shally or I love surfing or something like that. So I'm thinking weird looking emails like that. I'm thinking resumes that are too good. Like, I graduated from Harvard and MIT. I worked for Microsoft and Google, right? Like, okay, am I on the right track? Or what are 2 or 3 things I can look at a resume and go, this doesn't pass the sniff test. Let me look into it.
I'm really glad that you asked me this question, and I'm not in a sales pitch kind of way at all, but this is the issue without using technology to solve this problem.
Right.
Is looking at real data, right? Because what you're asking me to do is just come up with random biases in terms of, maybe they don't use this email. Like, people can really use whatever email they want when they
I know, but if I see a
someone
weird
real out there did go to Harvard, but like maybe someone is that person.
But right? All I'm saying, I'm not rejecting them. I'm just gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, let me. my next step would be to go to Google like I did and see
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the same thing. And this
Yeah, doing more diligence is obviously always a good thing when you're thinking about candidates. But I hear real examples like this, Shally, all the time where people, it's like one group, I'm not going to name any names, but a person in town I spoke to, they ended up figuring out that there's a fake candidate and that person had went to Georgia Tech. And so they're like, now anyone from Georgia Tech, I'm not even going to look at their resume. No. And look, I went to Virginia Tech. So Georgia Tech's kind of a rival school of mine. So I get it, but
that's not what I'm asking. I'm saying I got to review the resume anyway. While I'm reviewing the resume, are there some things that make me go, let me review this one a little bit harder or not? Or is it basically like, Shally, what you're asking for doesn't work. It can't be done. That's a good answer too.
It's just, I mean, there might be, it's just not the thing that I have any expertise in.
So, all right. So let's go back to where you were going with this. So we've got fake resumes. Mm-hmm. We've got, so the person is real, the resume is fake. That's, 101. Then we've got real resume, fake person. Mm-hmm. Then we've got fake resume, fake person, different fake person shows up for the other thing. The fake person applies, different fake person interviews, other different fake person does the second interview, right? And then you have straight up fake identities. So they even get hired and they show their documentation as, legally eligible for employment. And it's not actually, so it's such a good fake ID that you hire them and it passes the background check and everything. So it goes all the way to that, right?
Totally. It goes all the way through past that. It even goes fake person. Yeah. Person gets the job. Totally other person shows up on day one. One thing we hear about all the time is people get a job and it's not even a remote job. And day one, they call in and they say, hey, I've got this health issue. I can't actually come to the office or something.
Can you send me a laptop?
Exactly. Can you send me a laptop? They never put their camera on and they just do that.
Oh, I'm sick.
Literally. In perpetuity. In perpetuity. Yeah. So it's just like it's a full range thing. Or hey, I lost my computer, I need a re-credential, and then there's a swap happening there. So even account takeover things happening beyond. So I mean, the problem is that these fraudsters are good, right? So they're very good.
They're all getting good and
they're coming in at every angle. So there's not it's just one of those things where you got to build a bit of a fortress. Now, how big of one that
it's not like we need a metal detector at the front door. It's there's no front door. I mean, correct. So let's talk brass tacks here. You said that 20 to 25% of applicants that your software reviews are fraud. So let's just relate this to something that will fit in my head. 1 out of 4 applicants are fraud.
We're seeing that. I mean, Gartner put that statistic out there that by 2028, that will be the case. So the reason that SoCure got into this space, obviously we're good at identity stuff, as I mentioned, but we were attacked. We consistently get attacked.
What was the trigger?
Yeah. No, we've been attacked.
It's the security company is the easiest target.
As a security company, there's plenty of people
that want to hit you
on our team who take that very personally. So yes, we get attacked and we're using all of our own tools and we're still seeing 25 to 33% of the applicants that come.
25 to 33. That's a different number than what you told me. So
depending on the month. Oh. Depending on on the roles.
Which months are heavier?
It's there's no pattern yet, but we've seen a little bit of up and down. And then also
what about role to role? Do you see more
engineering, remote
role? Okay, so remote, got it. And then engineering, you mean software engineering or even PEs?
Okay. Software engineering typically.
What about geography, or does that not matter since it's
geography tends to matter? We're seeing it more from our customers where a lot of this is happening in Indonesia and India, China, obviously kind of there is domestic cases as well, but we've seen and heard more of it happening kind of there. But I mean, 1 in 4. So imagine that 1 in 4 candidates is fake. So it just makes it very difficult to know how to do your job. I think if you're in talent, I don't think.
Walk me through. Don't review. I want to be very clear here. Do not review anything that is proprietary.
Sure.
or sensitive. But walk me through, like, in layman's terms, what are the steps that SoCure, that your product goes through for when detecting or labeling, So, like, what are the steps? It scans. Just, I don't know what.
Yeah, I got you. Very simple. So we're connected to all the ATSs, or we can do things manually. But just imagine that you get
pretend I'm a fraudulent candidate.
You're a fraudulent candidate. So you submitted a resume. You've given some level of like PII, personally identifiable
email address,
email, address. So because we have this massive data model, we can call certain products of ours that will look at your email, look at the address,
see how old it is,
correlate the address. Not only is like, how old is this address, but have we seen this address with this name? Have we seen this address with this name in this email?
Like, this address has 57 other names.
Yeah. Or we have this massive network of like transactions that we're doing. We're processing 1 billion transactions across industries a month, 1.5 billion actually, closer now. So have we seen this name and this email together before? Or have we seen this email with 65 other names across our network in the last week, right? Like, so we really just look at the core data elements as you go through a process, and it grows, right? Like, as you go to get a job, you start getting a lot more data on people.
Right.
Also can do
asking for a friend.
Yeah, go ahead.
Asking for a friend. If I was going to pretend to be a candidate, what kind of name would I use? Would I use a very Bob Smith,
full range,
Jose Rodriguez, or would I be like Pankaj Chaturbedi?
Yeah, I mean, there's a Bob Smith version in every language, so you use.
So they're not really getting creative with names. They're using.
Well, what they try to do is find like a couple known good elements, right? Like the common things, like they know they have a good name, they know they have a good address, they know they have a good email, they know they have
a bad address. Oh, I didn't think about.
Like like we have a database of every address.
Can you detect if an address is actually a real ad? Like,
for sure,
because I could say 2424 South Main Street.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, Georgia. Can you actually detect if that?
Yeah, it detects all that. We have like 400 authoritative sources, 400 plus.
Right. So there you go.
We'll have real data on addresses and phone numbers. But like they may have a correlated name, phone number, address, but they might use a different email, right? Because they don't want to apply as you and have it go to your email, right? Yeah. So then that's where we catch it. But the fraudsters are trying to find things that are real that could get through these systems.
So they fake a little bit, and then like most of it looks really real. Okay.
And then, as you go through, so that would be like at the application stage. At the interview stage, there's different things we can do. We can detect.
Tell me about that. So the application stage is the resume, the file. All right. So now I show up for an interview. I'm a fake candidate. I show up for an interview. Are you telling me that I have a different face, or like, so I guess what I'm saying is, you saw my resume, you looked me up on LinkedIn, you know that I look like this, but the person who shows up looks different? Or does the person who shows up
there's
use
a digital
AI?
footprint? Yeah, there's a digital footprint, right? Like you were on some device in some place when you submitted this resume. Yeah. Are you still in that same place on the same device? Or is it one of the devices that we know is with this person or not, right? Then there's other things that we can do, right? As a roadmap item, we'll be able to add a deepfake detection agent. That should be out, I think, next quarter. For now, what we can do is have
which is like a fake
just like be an agent that came on this that can just take a look at liveness and different elements to determine like, is this really Zach on this call?
So it's actually like what we would call an avatar. So it's a real person but masked by AI to look different.
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it a fully artificial? Like, is it?
Well, no, people are deep faking like with that mask. So they're not really doing like an injection. They're not putting in a recorded video into an interview. They're just having something, like, hey, I'm deep fake me now, right? Like they're doing something like that. Right. Alternatively, what we can do is have you go through like our document verification, which is maybe known as IDV, where you just go through something on your phone. Think of it kind of like an Apple face scan.
Yeah, like the TSA.
Yeah, exactly. Submit an ID that way. Then we can capture your selfie. We have a list of fraudulent faces. We call it our image alert list because we're seeing these so much across all these networks, like these same faces popping up. So we'll cross-reference against that. And then we can just check the selfie each time. So it's like, all right, you represented yourself as Shally. You look like this. Are you still the same Shally? Because one of the reasons we thought to do that is like, I've talked to so many people who part of their job now that work in talent is literally just to hop on interviews they're no longer involved in to be like, yep, I've seen that person before. Or they're taking screenshots and saving it into a file and then going into the file and be like, yeah, I think that's
familiar. So hold on a second. So let's say that I'm a fraudulent applicant. I got the interview. I'm showing up for the interview. I'm using an AI mask to look different. Can you, is there something that the person on the other, you're the interviewer, you're the recruiter, can you detect that somehow?
I mean, in a roadmap state, we'll have an agent on the call that will detect that. But for now, what we're doing is just having people right before they go through the interview.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Go through that document verification and then revalidate it. Like
we're on the call. Is there something you can do to check? Because like
future state version is yes, Shally.
So right now, like as a human, you, the person, can you see my video and go, do you remember?
I mean, honestly, the like 3 months ago, I would say yes. Like they would have people put the hand in front of their face. There's a really funny video and and then there's a really funny
John Cena.
Have you? Yeah, exactly. You can't see me. But there's a really funny video. I'll send it to you that someone put out where they found like a North Korean operative and they tried to get them to say something bad about Kim Jong-un and they just wouldn't say it. And then they dropped off the call. So like a few months ago, I would say, yeah, stuff like that could work. But honestly, the models coming out of China right now are starting to be.
So the AI can do this.
It's beyond what the human eye can detect. Like it would look. Yeah.
Right, sorry, I totally derailed. I got geeked out. Never mind.
I mean, there's a lot of fun sci-fi stuff happening. So these conversations.
Man, it's like I'm getting this. Oh yeah, I'm almost like my hair is crawling. Yeah. I'm getting this sense of like I don't feel safe. I don't feel clean anymore. This is weird. Okay. Anyway,
we're moving to a zero trust internet, unfortunately. So tools like this are just going to kind of be table stakes to make sure that you and I can talk in this format and know it's really us.
So you've said beyond sorry, I interviewed, I got the job, and then you said beyond that. So verification has to continue. Maybe I'm not thinking about this right. Well, hold on a second though. My train of thought. I was thinking about it when you were saying that, and I wanted to follow up. So I got the job, and I'm not really me, right? It's fraudulent. I'm famous Cilman or whatever, and maybe I show up to work for the first couple of weeks just to pass the test, right? Yeah. And then after a while, I get swapped out by the real perpetrator, right? Is that happening too?
Absolutely.
So you literally have to do like almost like continuous identity and credential verification.
You can. I mean, so one of the things
you can. I'm asking, should we? Like, is this?
Yeah, I mean, we do. So like
this is what we're doing.
We're trying. Yeah, exactly. Fair. Like Jesus. I think we try to, use startup speak. We're eating our own dog food, but I think we've tried to set pretty high level policies for what we do. So at SoCure, we'll just do a selfie re-verification, every 6 months. So it takes 5 seconds. You go on, boom, on your phone, and then you're good. But yeah, I would say one of the things that's hard for companies right now, as they try to figure this out, is like who should be setting these policies, who should be thinking about this. Obviously, it comes in the door through talent acquisition, but then it becomes a security problem. How do these people work together? Like what's right for which company? But yeah, I would say best practices is certainly to maintain checks. It doesn't need to be an everyday thing.
No, but have like checkpoints or gates.
Yeah, but we have stuff that
you guys know fintech, right? I know fintech. I was in fintech for a while.
Sure.
Actually. There's a point to this. I tend to ramble, but I ramble circuitously and eventually arrive at the point. Kind of like a shark, right? I feel around and then come in for the kill. In fintech, there are major penalties for getting it wrong. So banks are responsible for detecting fraud in their own banks. They're held accountable to it. So in other words, the government doesn't say it's our job to protect banks. The government says we will help protect banks. Banks got to protect themselves. But at the same time, if a bank falsely identifies fraud or accuses a customer of fraud, there are serious penalties. in this industry, if you falsely accuse a candidate of being fraud, are there any consequences? Are there any penalties? Does an employer need to also be worried about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're worried about the fraud, but should
I
we
know
also
exactly
be worried
what you're
about?
saying.
Okay, yeah, then help me.
Yeah, it's well, it's one of the
Swimming.
it's one of the bigger open questions, right? It's
Okay.
just because it's unexplored, and I think that there's like
So
a
we don't know.
famous lawsuit involving FICRA out there that has been going around that kind of touches near this. I think where we stand is we're going to provide you signal. Just because we're saying these signals suggest something is fraudulent, you kind of alluded to this earlier, just take a few more steps, right? Like you still feel good about this person, right? Like just do a little more diligence. I don't know that you should be auto removing people,
auto rejecting based on fraud. Oh, we think you might be fraud, get out, right? Yeah. But, so what you're saying is that it's like I don't want to say buyer beware, but the people who use automated fraud detection, the companies I should say, not the people who use automated fraud detection, need to also utilize good judgment and realize that if you detect fraud, you should just test it, make sure that it is fraud before you start going.
I would say that, but I would also say like there's a little more comfort than that. Since you mentioned fintechs, right? We work with over 600 fintechs, and part of the work that we do is around credit, right? Credit decisioning. And I think that there's like a pretty strict line in the sand between is this person creditworthy and is this person this person?
Right. For credit, yes. But for applicants, that line's not there.
I think you can make the argument that it is, in that, like, at the end of the day, if you're not Shally, we don't want people applying to jobs as.
Oh, sorry. No, Shally. I meant a candidate's creditworthiness. Never mind.
Well, right. Credit's employment worthiness, right? Let's just say that, right? Like their credentials.
Using a metaphor.
Did Shally go to Harvard? Should Shally be running Shally's Alley? Whatever, right? Versus is Shally Shally? I think these are two very different questions.
Shally is most always Shally, but sometimes not Shally.
Exactly. And the non-Shally should not be hosting this podcast. But point being, like, I do think that there are other instances where there's a two-part question and identity is very separate than the credentialed aspect.
Wait, what's that two-part question?
In this case, I would say the credentialed aspect would be like, are you the right fit candidate for this role?
Okay.
Because if it falls into FICRA, then you owe an explanation to people. And do we want to send non-you information about you, like in other?
Now you're hurting real me.
Exactly. And that's why that line exists in these other contexts.
Gotcha.
So I would say, like, as long as you're only answering for identity at one time, to me, it seems very simple. Once you start blending the two, then it's a different unknown answer question.
What would you say is the highest risk moment after the hire? So, offer goes out, onboarding, and, now let's start the clock there. What would be the higher risk moment? Is it like sending equipment, credentialing, the passwords? Is it the direct deposit, benefits? Where is that highest risk?
You named all of them.
Highest.
I mean, the highest risk is, the highest risk. I mean, look, once people have the equipment and it's live, there's that's it. That's
you get the laptop and it logs in.
Yeah, I mean, once you have access to all the systems.
Now you have the keys to the kingdom, so to speak.
Correct. Now, there are risks, though, associated. Now, again, this is unsettled, but assuming that, there's sanctions risks, hypothetically, if you're a company and you're paying like a North Korean operative, it's strict liability is the standard. Now, this hasn't been figured out, but there's opinions out there where they're saying, like, I don't envision that the government's going to go after companies for this, but like hypothetically they could.
You allowed this to happen. You're
literally paying a North Korean operative directly from the company coffers. The standard
so therefore you are.
So like there's risk involved in all of it, but like the most like obvious point blank risk is like, look, once someone has full access to your systems, it can cause you a lot of problems, right? Especially someone like the types of people that are trying to get into these roles who know exactly what to do with this type of equipment. That's not a good situation.
I'm not. I follow there. I do not follow in the other one because for example, you blame Ford Motor Company for people dying because they make cars that people die in. I mean, like, yeah, they do, but there are drivers in the cars, and maybe that's the fault. Or that's like blaming the judge for finding somebody not guilty, and then that person goes out and commits another crime equal to the one that they were accused of, and you go back to the judge and say it's your fault they did. No, sure, maybe they made a mistake, but it's not their fault that person committed the crime.
I 100% agree with you, Shally. I'm just saying, if you get into the legal literature, like if people are talking about this that are lawyers that work at big law firms and putting out white papers, and they are flagging that could be a thing. Do I think it's going to be a thing? I think that'd be a ridiculous outcome for a company if they got defrauded by North Korean and then they had to pay sanctions because of it. If you're on the legal team and you're running through liability, you wouldn't put it at 0%. So I would say.
Tell me this. This may be out of scope, and that's fine. If it is, let's just table it. But I'm thinking, okay, so you've got the ATS. People are applying. These ATSs, even the best of the most world class, most robust ATS, they all still have gaps that they need to connect with outside vendors. And by the way, call this a free plug for your company or whatever, but I don't think an ATS company should be the one doing the fraud detection when there are companies who specialize in fraud detection. So I think that the really smart thing to do would be for the ATS company to, partner with a fraud vendor. But where I'm going with this is, so you have the ATS, then you have the fraud vendor, you have the background checker, you have the assessment, you have the video interview platform. At what point are we connecting too many things into our ATS, and our ATS is becoming like this multi, like, I'm imagining whatever has more legs than an octopus. It's like a millipede with all these tendrils going out, and don't those also become like another trust factor? Like, at what point does an ATS have to connect to too many external systems?
Yeah.
To make it, and can fraud detection help when the data that's bad is coming in from somewhere else?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I would say the answer depends on the complexity and nature of the end organization. I would say, just like anything else, bigger companies want a high level of customization. They want to use every single partner. They want a different thing for everything.
Yeah, right.
And I would say,
that makes sense. Right.
And they want to customize it specifically to their spec. But if you're like a small mid-sized company, you probably don't need all these things. And actually, that's why part of kind of how we solve this problem is we're actually partnered with both Checker and First Advantage.
The background check companies.
Exactly. Yeah. So they'll offer some of our identity products through their brand. So if you're, that doesn't necessarily answer the ATS question, but like if you're a company and you want a solution for this, you don't necessarily, even when we have integrations with ATSs, you don't necessarily need to go that route. You could just.
You are answering the question. Actually, you know what? You know how you answered the question? You said that this is not a standalone app. This could be an ecosystem. And that is kind of what I'm thinking is maybe there's. So that brings me to another question. Should it be, because applicant fraud detection is really very close to law enforcement, shouldn't the ATS just absorb that cost? Like, in other words, shouldn't the ATS purchase fraud detection for their ATS, for their customers? Or, what I'm thinking? Like, if I'm the CFO of a big mega corporation and I'm thinking, we got to pay another vendor for the same service. Like, we already pay, WD ATS, and now we got to pay this. Shouldn't WD ATS just kind of include it?
Yeah, Shally, if you want to go to these meetings with me, and
I'm thinking out loud.
No, I mean, it's a good. I made a joke of it, but it's an interesting question.
Funny. I get it.
Well, I just like, I think that we're talking to a lot of these groups, and I think the answer is unclear. I think everyone's just getting this thrown onto their plate and is trying to figure out what to do. I think a lot of the bigger companies are getting. getting affected by this and they're going to their ATS and saying like, hey, can you help? Or can you plug in a solution that can help? I think the long tail, I probably agree with you. I think some of the ATSs for sure will just say, hey, like, come here. You don't have to deal with this problem whatsoever. I think that'd be a great strategy if I'm running an ATS. It would be a market differentiating strategy currently. But I think all this is so fresh and new that every ATS I've talked to is interested in helping and trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out the financial model, trying to figure out everything. But, a lot of these companies are big companies, and just like any other big company, when you think about bringing on a big expense at that scale, blah, 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 like there's just a process that has to happen before those decisions can get made. But I will say that I've yet to speak to any of the major ATSs that isn't super involved in
they're thinking about it.
they're doing the right things.
Because this is basically, like I said, it's law enforcement. I mean,
for sure.
If you are as an employer with a building that people work at, you are required to provide a safe work environment as part of your contract to hire people. I mean, you should be providing a safe work environment. This is the law.
Yeah.
But there's also the police, so like there's unsafe and then there's criminal. So, as an employer, you can provide safety measures to protect your employees' safety. But when there's an employee that's actually doing a criminal act, you call the cops.
Totally.
What you're describing is a criminal act. Why aren't there cops?
I mean, there are, to be fair. I think some of the 3-letter agencies definitely get involved.
So when you detect a fraudulent candidate, you're literally ratting them out to the FBI in a good way?
We're just flagging it to the company, and then they can decide what they want to do.
My question is, why aren't they cops? Like, why don't the cops come and arrest this person?
The scale at which this is happening, I don't even know how they would do that. And then there's issues of like extradition. A lot of these people are like there's a whole.
So what you're telling me is we should just go ahead and like deter the crime, but when the crime's committed, just kind of let it happen.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not.
I know you're not, but
in no way am I saying that.
No, you're not. But that's what I'm like. Okay, so by not capturing the criminals, we are the judge that let the criminal go away.
Well, I would say that the government is definitely getting involved in this, and there's been some guidance put out. And I think that, we're definitely doing some lobbying and all the other.
So you should, and you could, as an employer, you could say, hey, this is legit fraud. Let's call the FBI.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I would recommend, like, I don't know.
Would you have evidence for that? Like, you could prove to the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have it.
Okay, that's my question.
But like, yes, the steps beyond.
You aren't law enforcement, but you can help. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
for sure. And we would.
One thing is looking the other way when the crime's being committed.
No.
And that's not what I was talking about, like not looking the other way, but actually going out of your way to go, produce a report.
For sure. And we'll have those reports. And I would say, like, what we're trying to do is just like, they're trying to commit this crime. Let's make sure this crime doesn't actually become extremely problematic. And then, and the Monday morning quarterback version of it,
Right. So the smaller crime of committing the fraud in your application was, we didn't catch that, but we caught the bigger crime of them hacking your network or stealing your money. I mean, so it's like, we caught you speeding, but at least we arrested you before you did the other really bad thing.
Before you robbed the bank. Exactly.
Okay.
In this instance. But yeah, I would say, thinking through your ATS question as well, like, again, I think it also just comes down. I think you could stop a lot of the top of this. And for any mid-sized organizations, maybe that's all you need. But for more complex, large organizations, a lot of them will still want to come to us directly because there's different things that they're going to want to solve for. There's different parameters that they're going to want to look at. They're going to want customization. And so I think, again, it's just like any other enterprise level problem.
So last thing, as we're getting close to the end, this has been freaking fun as hell. I just love.
It's great talking to you, man.
I was going to say I love fraud.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's what you love.
That's not what I meant to say, but I know the AI is going to use that big as my.
No, it's like
I love talking about these deeper solutions for bigger problems, right? Because a lot of folks you're right, they sense the building pressure of all these applicants, but they haven't been impacted by the fraud angle of it to the degree where it's just applicant fraud and so they're not aware of this, but they need to be, because you don't want it to get to the point where something bigger happens, right? Famous Cilman or whatever. But anyways, so I was going to say, are you ready for this? I've been doing this the last few episodes and I really like it. I don't know if anybody else does, but I want to close out with rapid fire. I'm going to give you 5 questions and you have 2 seconds to answer, just top of mind. I mean, totally. I won't trap you. Believe me, I won't trap you into anything. But
I'm
just
edge of my seat, Shally. Let's do
hard hitting. All right. Number 1, deep fake or proxy interview. Which one keeps you up at night more?
Deep fake.
Okay. What's the biggest candidate fraud red flag that recruiters frequently miss?
I mean, all of them. You need identity services in the background to be able to see things.
What's the biggest one, though, that is missed?
That a person's not even a real person.
Not even, right. Okay, there you go.
Identity. Frankenstein identity.
It's not even, I didn't know that. Is that what it's called? Frankenstein identity?
Yep. Synthetic identity would be the actual term of art, but I prefer Frankenstein.
That's awesome. That's so Frankenstein identity. There you go. Yeah. All right. What is one verification step that every employer should start using right now?
Passive identity checks at applications.
What's that? Passive.
Phone, email, name, all the things we talked about passively in the background where the
candidate. I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So not having to run a background check, but
not having to run a background check, not having to have a candidate go through a process, just looking at these things and seeing.
Okay. So having it be part of being in the workflow.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right. Friction or fraud? Which risk are employers underestimating the most?
Both.
I know.
Fraud. Right now, fraud. Okay. Fraud. Yeah, fraud.
All right. This last one is a softball. Finish the sentence. By 2028, hiring someone without verifying their identity will be as reckless as
driving drunk with your eyes closed.
God damn. Oh my God. Okay. Woo. That is reckless.
Real reckless.
Wow. All right. So I'm going to tell folks where to find you because they are going to have a lot of questions. So let me put this up here on the, I can't remember the name of it, marquee thing. So Cure. I know you heard me say it, but I know AI is going to translate it to something completely different.
Yeah.
And it used to be that the voice to text translation was so bad people didn't use it. And then it got really good and I started using it. And the last couple of weeks, I've been noticing for some reason that the voice to text has like regressed. I said something on a webinar yesterday and the translation was a word that was completely different. It wasn't even homonymous or whatever that is. It's so weird. Anyway, so folks can find you here.
Yes. SOCURE.com.
Thank you. That's very well elocuted. You have excellent elocution. You used to be a speaker or something, right? You did like
I might have been a lawyer in another
presentations and stuff like that. Yeah, you're a Toastmaster.
Yeah.
Stand up in front of crowds and elocute clearly. All right, so quick recap. So just check my math here. A good resume is not proof that the person is behind it. One check at onboarding is not a protection strategy. Prevention has to be risk-based, measurable, and humane, or else now you have a candidate experience problem. All right, what did I miss?
One thing, I think you've gotten it all. One thing that I want to add is a dynamic I've seen. You mentioned that many people don't think they have a fraud problem, but they have a fake resume problem.
Right. Yeah.
I would encourage you, if you work at a company large enough to have like a security team, like a CISO or an internal risk person, my guess is that if you're in talent or HR and you have a conversation with those people, you guys are going to discover a lot of interesting things that you're seeing on each side of this problem, but not talking about. That's been my experience. So I would recommend that be a next step. If you're in an organization where that can be a step.
Okay. Yeah. And I was just saying that, from the tactical point of view of the grind, the daily grind, you get into the office, you got to review resumes. Mm-hmm. And they got to get through the pile of resumes because that's, there's SLAs and things like that.
100%.
So when they're sitting there grinding it out, they don't have their detective hat on,
No.
Yeah. But you're saying maybe you need to like just pause and ask that question.
Could be enlightening. That's what I'm saying.
It could be, and it doesn't have to be your job to do. I mean, you could, introduce the idea and hand it over to somebody else.
Exactly. Well, right. Which might also be a big win.
Exactly. And you might have saved the company from. Okay. So in closing, besides famous Cilman, are there any other like major groups like that?
Yeah, we're seeing it from all the major countries that you would suspect.
That have like an identity like that. Is there another one that's like
like a named group? Well, like we're seeing a lot of like China. the entire
that's a name.
Yeah, like we're seeing a lot of this from China.
A country or porcelain, but a language. Well, maybe not. But so there's not like an organized, like, you know what I'm talking about. There used to be
like
these hacker groups around and stuff like that. So,
okay. Yeah, no, we're seeing it more from like foreign national
from
groups.
Literally. Oh wow.
Yes, like coming from countries themselves.
Okay. Wow. This has been fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did.
It's good. It's good to be in the alley.
Good to be in the alley.
Yeah, Shally, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And reach out to me if you need help or if you want to talk about detective type stuff again.
Yeah, I definitely need help because of that 2 resume situation I told you about. So you're going to get a call from me. Folks, that is the conclusion of our show. Please check out tsiuniversity.com. That's how I pay the bills. There's no sponsorship, no advertising on this. So if we get one member to sign up at tsiuniversity.com to learn, it's like $30, $40 a month. It's really inexpensive. Then that pays for my $3,000 a year hosting bill for this thing. But if you're curious as to what is going to happen on the next episode, then you might be in for a treat because Elaine Orler is going to be here from Match 2 Jobs. And not just from Match 2 Jobs. Elaine has been a keynote speaker in multiple conferences. We go way back. We exchange notes at events and bump into each other all the time. So it's going to be, almost like reminiscing with an old friend, but we're going to definitely dive into, she's very technical. We're going to dive into another perspective on fraud. That's a different take. It's another side, not quite the same as this automated fraud detection, but it's more on the, getting the right people into the jobs as opposed to, the security side of it. So it's kind of the flip side, different argument, different side of things. So she'll be here for that, and Jim D'Amico after that. So until then, be kind to yourselves, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. See ya.